Deep in the galaxy, far from the busy space lanes of the advanced civilizations, there was a small, forgotten planet named Ilora. It was the home of the Illyrians, an ancient alien race who once ruled their world with wisdom and peace. Their cities were grand, their technology advanced, and their culture rich with art and knowledge. But over the centuries, the Illyrians had become isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Their world had been ignored by the other civilizations, and their once thriving society had slowly begun to fade. The galaxy was a vast and busy place, filled with powerful species that moved from one star system to another, always looking for ways to grow, to conquer, or to control. Many civilizations were quick to judge what was important and what wasn't. And the Illyrians, who had lost their power and were now struggling, had become something of an afterthought. The Illyrians didn't have the mighty fleets of warships or the incredible weapons of some of the galaxy's other species. They were a peaceful people, more focused on knowledge and art than on the things that made others powerful. Their planet, once full of life, now teetered on the edge of disaster. The once bright sun that warmed Ilora was starting to burn out. The planet's atmosphere was slowly changing, and the Illyrians had no way to stop it. The other civilizations, who had the technology and the resources to help, simply turned away. They had their own problems, their own plans, and the Illyrians were no longer of any interest to them. They were just a distant, forgotten race, left to fade into the history books. Just another tale of a once great civilization that didn't make it. But all of that changed when a small human exploration ship stumbled upon Ilora while charting unknown star systems. The crew aboard the ship, a group of young scientists and explorers, were on a peaceful mission to learn about the universe, to find new planets, new species, and perhaps new ways of living. They had no idea that their journey would lead them to one of the most important discoveries of their lives. As the human ship entered the Illyrian system, the crew noticed strange patterns in the data they were receiving. The planet, once home to a vibrant and thriving civilization, was now a shell of its former self. There were signs of environmental decay, and the energy readings from the planet's sun were abnormal. The crew was unsure at first whether it was worth investigating. After all, the planet had been abandoned by the galaxy. Who would care to learn about a race that no one else was interested in? But Captain Sarah Hayes, the leader of the human crew, felt something different. She was a scientist at heart, and her curiosity pushed her to look deeper. She ordered the ship to land. The crew made contact with the Illyrians, who were in a state of panic. Their world was dying, and they had no solutions left. The Illyrians had watched as their once grand cities crumbled, and their forests, once teeming with life, were now barren. They were afraid, but they were also desperate. The humans arrived at a time when all hope seemed lost. The humans, on the other hand, had seen this situation before. They had witnessed civilizations on the brink of collapse in other parts of the galaxy. But unlike the other species, the humans didn't turn their backs. They didn't see the Illyrians as a lost cause. Instead, they saw an opportunity to offer something different. They saw hope. As the humans made their way down to the surface of Ilora, they were greeted with a mix of fear and curiosity from the Illyrians. The once proud race had long since lost their confidence, but there was a spark in their eyes. They didn't expect help from the humans, but a small part of them hoped, just hoped, that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had forgotten them for a reason, because the Illyrians were meant to be saved by someone else. The humans immediately set to work, using their advanced technology and knowledge to assess the situation. They knew that the planet's sun was dying, but there were ways to slow its collapse. They studied the Illyrian structures, their ancient technologies, and began to find solutions where others had given up. The human explorers weren't experts in saving dying stars, but they were experts in one thing. They knew how to adapt and collaborate. The Illyrians, though hesitant at first, began to trust the humans. They saw that the humans weren't here for conquest or to take advantage of them. They were here to help, simply because it was the right thing to do. Captain Hayes stood on the surface of Elora, looking out at the cracked, dusty land. "We're not just here to study you," she said to the Illyrian leader, who was standing beside her. "We're here to help you rebuild. We're not going to let your race disappear. You matter." And so, the first step had been taken. The humans had made the decision that would change the fate of the Illyrians forever. They would not abandon them. They would fight for them. They would protect the abandoned alien race, even if the rest of the galaxy didn't care. The sun hung low over the Illyrian city of Elora, casting long shadows across the crumbling buildings. The once proud capital had now become a place of quiet desperation. The Illyrians had long since given up on their world, their technology barely functional, and their hope fading with each passing day. Yet the humans' arrival had brought with it a flicker of something they hadn't felt in years: hope. Captain Sarah Hayes stood on the edge of the crumbling city square, looking around at the strange, alien architecture. The city of Elora, though decaying, still had a beauty to it. The designs were elegant, built with a sense of harmony with the land, something that seemed almost lost on the humans' own advanced cities. Yet that same beauty had been ravaged by time, war, and neglect. It was now a shadow of its former self, just like the Illyrians. The humans had not expected to find such a vibrant culture hiding beneath the surface of decay. They had expected to find a broken, powerless people who had no will left to fight for survival. Instead, they found the Illyrians struggling to keep a flicker of their past alive. Their science, once a beacon of progress, had faltered. Their art, once revered across the galaxy, had fallen silent. Their people, once so full of life, now wandered through their cities, unsure of their place in the galaxy. Despite all this, the humans saw potential. They didn't see a race of failures or a lost cause. They saw a race in need of a little guidance, of a helping hand. They saw a people who could still stand tall, who could rebuild, if only given the chance. "We've been studying your star," Dr. Nathaniel Ward, one of the human scientists on the expedition, said as he walked up to Captain Hayes. "There's a way to stabilize it, but it's going to take a lot of work, and even more resources than we have on hand. We'll need help from the Illyrians." Captain Hayes nodded, thinking about the challenge ahead. The Illyrians had the intelligence and knowledge to understand what was needed, but their resources were nearly gone. The humans had more advanced technology, but they lacked the understanding of the planet's delicate ecosystems that the Illyrians once had. It was going to take a combination of both to succeed. Turning to the Illyrian leader, who had been watching from a distance, Captain Hayes spoke. "We'll need your people to help us. Your knowledge of this planet's environment, its ancient systems, will be crucial. We can't do it alone." The Illyrian leader, an elderly figure named Kalian, looked at the humans, his face a mixture of uncertainty and awe. The Illyrians had not trusted outsiders for generations. The last time they had accepted help from another civilization, it had been for personal gain, and the results had been disastrous. But these humans were different. They had arrived with no hidden motives, no desire to take anything from the Illyrians. They simply wanted to help. "We have nothing left to lose," Kalian said quietly. "But we have memories, memories of what we once were. If you promise to help us, we will give all we have left. It is the least we can do." The humans nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The Illyrians' trust had to be earned, and it would take time. The humans didn't expect instant results, but they were willing to put in the effort. Together, they would rebuild. Over the next few weeks, human engineers worked alongside Illyrian scientists to develop a plan to stabilize the star. It wasn't easy. There were many setbacks, and the Illyrians, though brilliant, had grown tired over the years. They had seen so many civilizations abandon them that it was hard for them to believe that anyone would actually help. Yet the humans pushed forward. In the evenings, after the work was done for the day, the humans and Illyrians would gather together. The Illyrians would tell stories of their ancient past, of the days when their civilization was at its peak, when their ships flew across the stars and their music filled the galaxy. The humans listened in awe, understanding that they were witnessing the remnants of something beautiful. As the days turned into weeks, the humans began to teach the Illyrians new methods of sustainable energy, of harnessing the power of the planet without depleting it. In return, the Illyrians taught the humans about their unique understanding of the universe, about the delicate balance between nature, technology, and life. The people of both races began to bond over shared experiences and newfound knowledge. The Illyrians, who had once turned inward, now found themselves opening up to the humans. They began to see that, perhaps, they had a future after all. One evening, as the sun set over the city of Valora, Captain Hayes stood with Kalian on the balcony of what had once been a grand palace. The stars began to twinkle in the sky, and for the first time in years, there was a sense of peace in the air. "You've given us more than just technology," Kalian said softly, his eyes on the horizon. "You've given us something we lost long ago. Hope. We had forgotten what it was like to dream, to believe that we could be something more." Captain Hayes smiled, her heart full. "It's not just the technology, Kalian. It's the willingness to work together, to care for one another, that will save you. You're not alone anymore, and you never will be." And as the two stood together, looking out over the city, it was clear that the Illyrians' future was not lost. With humanity's help, they had a chance to rebuild, not just their planet, but their entire civilization. Weeks passed, and the first signs of success began to show. The Illyrians, once hesitant and distrustful, had slowly warmed the humans. They had shared their knowledge, their history, and their culture with the human explorers. And in return, the humans had shared not only their technology, but also something deeper: compassion. Captain Sarah Hayes watched as Illyrian scientists worked beside human engineers, each side contributing to the ongoing effort to stabilize the planet's dying sun. The work was difficult, and the challenges were many, but there was a quiet sense of determination in the air. No longer was the task simply about saving a planet. It had become something much greater. It was about saving a people, about proving that even in the face of failure, a new beginning was possible. Dr. Nathaniel Ward, the lead scientist on the mission, had spent long nights studying the energy patterns coming from Elora's sun. He had been skeptical at first, unsure of whether the Illyrians' ancient technology could truly be of any use. But as he worked alongside Illyrian engineers, he began to see the value in their designs. While their technology was different from humanity's, it was no less advanced in its own way. It was a reflection of their culture, elegant, efficient, and deeply connected to the planet. One day, as Dr. Ward worked on a complicated energy matrix with an Illyrian scientist named Lyra, she spoke quietly to him. "You humans, you are not like the others. When the galaxy abandoned us, we thought there was no one left who cared. But you did not turn away." Dr. Ward paused for a moment, considering her words. "We're not here because we feel sorry for you, Lyra. We're here because we believe that everyone deserves a chance. You're not just a dying race. You're a civilization with a rich history, and you still have so much to offer. We're here to help you rebuild, not because we pity you, but because we want to see you thrive." Lyra nodded slowly, her expression softening. "I see. It is strange. After so many years of being alone, it is hard to trust again. But you remind us of something we had lost. You remind us that compassion is not a weakness, it is strength." The words stayed with Dr. Ward as he continued to work. Compassion, he realized, was the missing piece in the puzzle. It wasn't just about technology or resources. It was about understanding, about recognizing the value of every life, every culture, and every people. The humans had not come to conquer or control. They had come to protect, to offer what they could without expecting anything in return. Captain Hayes knew that their mission wasn't just about saving a dying star. It was about changing the way the galaxy viewed its weakest members. The Illyrians had been abandoned because they were seen as irrelevant, as too small to matter. But the humans saw them differently. They saw the potential in the Illyrians and in their world, a potential that had been ignored for too long. One evening, as the sun set over the desolate landscape of Vellora, Captain Hayes gathered the human and Illyrian teams together. The atmosphere was heavy with the weight of the work ahead, but there was also a sense of unity, something that hadn't been felt in these lands for centuries. "We've come a long way," Captain Hayes said, her voice steady. "But we're not done yet. We have a lot of work ahead of us. And we're not just doing this for the planet or for the Illyrians. We're doing it for everyone. We're showing the galaxy that compassion isn't a weakness. It's the most powerful tool we have. It's what makes us human." The Illyrians listened closely, their eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. They had heard many speeches over the years, many promises of help that never came. But something about the humans' words felt different. It wasn't just a promise. It was a truth that resonated deep within them. "We will help," Kalian, the Illyrian leader, said quietly. "We will work with you, not because we have to, but because we believe. We believe that together we can save this world. And we believe that, in the end, the galaxy will see what we can become. With you, we are not alone." The humans and Illyrians worked side by side, day and night, pushing forward with a shared vision. The technology that the humans brought, combined with the ancient wisdom of the Illyrians, began to form a plan that had the potential to save Vellora. They would stabilize the sun, restore the planet's atmosphere, and heal the damage that had been done over centuries of neglect. But it wasn't just the science that kept them going. It was the trust they had built, the bond that had formed between them. The Illyrians had once seen themselves as forgotten, their culture discarded, their planet dying. Now they were working together with the humans to rebuild not just their world, but their hope for the future. As the days passed, more and more Illyrians joined the effort. They saw the humans not as saviors, but as equals, partners in the rebuilding of their world. The power of compassion was beginning to show in every aspect of their work. It wasn't just about saving a planet. It was about saving each other. And as Captain Hayes watched the teams working together, she knew that this was only the beginning. They were not just helping the Illyrians. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson in compassion, a lesson that would echo across the stars for generations to come. As the weeks turned into months, the efforts to stabilize Ellora's sun were making progress. The Illyrians, once weak and weary, were beginning to feel a new sense of energy. Their planet's future, once uncertain, now seemed to have a chance. The humans had helped them rediscover their purpose, something that had been lost to them for a long time. The collaboration between the humans and Illyrians had blossomed into a true partnership. The humans brought advanced technology, while the Illyrians shared their knowledge of their planet's unique energy sources and ancient technologies. Together, they had created a plan to not only stabilize the dying star, but also to restore Ellora's environment. It would take time, but for the first time in years, the Illyrians believed it could be done. Captain Sarah Hayes stood on the balcony of the command center, looking out over the vast landscape of Ellora. The once barren fields were beginning to show signs of life again, thanks to the work of both human and Illyrian engineers. The planet was still far from fully healed, but it was no longer a dying world. It was a world with a future, a world worth fighting for. Beside her, Kalian, the Illyrian leader, watched the horizon with a quiet intensity. His people had lost so much over the years, and yet now, there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "I never thought I would see this day," he said, his voice soft. "When I look out there, I see not only the land we lost, but also the land we can have again. We've been given a second chance." Captain Hayes nodded. "You've always had that chance, Kalian. You just needed someone to believe in you. And now, together, we're making it happen." As the two stood in silence, the hum of activity from the command center reminded them of the progress that was being made. Human and Illyrian teams worked side by side, focusing on the task at hand. Dr. Nathaniel Ward, the lead scientist, was overseeing the energy matrix that would stabilize Elora's sun. The plan was ambitious, but it was the only option they had. "We're ready for the next phase," Dr. Ward said, walking up to the captain and Caroline. "The energy matrix is complete, and we've got the first series of adjustments in place. The next step is to direct the energy from the planet's core to the sun. It's going to be risky, but if it works, we should be able to stabilize the sun's temperature for a while." Caroline looked at Dr. Ward, his face filled with a mix of concern and hope. "Will it be enough? Can we really save our world?" Dr. Ward smiled, trying to reassure him. "We're not just saving Ilora. We're restoring your place in the galaxy. If we succeed here, it could open up new possibilities for every civilization that has been left behind. But we're not just doing this for the science. We're doing it because you deserve it." Callahan looked at the human team, who were preparing the equipment for the next phase. He could see the same determination in their eyes that he had seen in his own people when they were at their peak. This wasn't just a mission to save a planet. It was a mission to save a people, a culture, and a way of life. The humans and Illyrians gathered in the control room, ready to begin the most critical phase of the operation. The air was thick with anticipation. It had been months of hard work, countless failures, and small victories. Now, the moment of truth had arrived. "Are we ready?" Captain Hayes asked, her voice calm but filled with resolve. "Ready as we'll ever be," Dr. Ward answered, his eyes focused on the holographic displays. "It's all in place. All we need now is to activate the core transfer and direct the energy." The Illyrians gathered around the control panel, their eyes fixed on the readings. The ancient technology they had once used to harness the power of their sun was now being integrated with the humans' cutting-edge systems. Together, the two races were creating something new, something that had never been done before. As the countdown began, Callahan stepped forward, placing his hands gently on the control panel. "This is for Ilora," he said, his voice steady. "This is for the future of my people." Captain Hayes placed her hand on his shoulder, a silent gesture of support. "We're with you, Callahan, every step of the way." The countdown reached 0, and with a flash of light, the energy from Ilora's core surged toward the sun. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the sun began to stabilize. The temperature of the star began to level out, and the once flickering energy patterns smoothed into a steady pulse. The control room erupted in cheers. The humans and Illyrians stood side by side, watching the readings with disbelief and joy. It was working. They had done it. Callahan turned to Captain Hayes, his eyes wide with astonishment. It's working. You did it. We did it." "We did," Captain Hayes replied with a smile. "Together." As the sun's energy stabilized, the atmosphere of Ilora began to shift. The air became clearer, and the temperature rose slightly, restoring balance to the planet's ecosystem. It was only the beginning, but it was a victory nonetheless. The Illyrians had regained hope. Their world had been saved from the brink of destruction, and they now knew that they were not forgotten. They were not alone. For Captain Hayes and the human team, this was more than just a scientific success. It was a victory for compassion, cooperation, and the belief that every civilization, no matter how small or forgotten, deserved a chance at survival. And as the sun began to shine brighter over Ilora, the future seemed full of promise. The humans and Illyrians had not only saved the world, they had forged a bond that would last for generations. The air on Ilora had begun to feel different. The planet, once teetering on the edge of collapse, now pulsed with life. The sun, once a dying ember in the sky, shone steadily, casting a warm glow across the land. The humans and Illyrians stood together, looking out over the thriving fields, watching as plants once thought extinct began to grow again. This was the beginning of something new, something neither of them had imagined only months ago. In the heart of the newly restored city of Ilora, The atmosphere was one of cautious optimism. The city, once abandoned and forgotten, was now alive with activity. Illyrian children played in the streets, their laughter echoing through the air. The marketplace, once empty, was bustling with vendors and customers, humans and Illyrians alike. The contrast between the empty streets of the past and the vibrant life now filling them was a testament to the effort it had taken to get to this point. Captain Sarah Hayes walked through the streets of Valora, her mind racing with the implications of everything they had accomplished. She had come to this planet to help, to offer the assistance humanity could provide. But what she hadn't expected was how much the Illyrians would teach her in return. The Illyrians had endured so much, and yet they had never given up hope. They had held on to their culture, their traditions, even as their world crumbled around them. Beside her, Callian, the Illyrian leader, walked slowly, his gaze distant but filled with a quiet satisfaction. "It is strange," he said, his voice soft. "I never thought I would see this. I never thought I would live to see my people thriving again." "You've always had that strength inside you, Callian," Captain Hayes replied, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Sometimes it just takes the right moment, the right kind of help, to bring that strength to the surface." Callian nodded. "We have lived through so much pain, but we've also lived through so much beauty. Our history, our songs, our art. It has all come alive again, thanks to your people." Captain Hayes smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. "We didn't do this alone. We worked together. That's what matters." The two walked together in silence for a moment, their footsteps echoing through the city streets. They had come a long way since the first days of their alliance. At first, the Illyrians had been reluctant to trust the humans, their past filled with betrayal and loss. But over time, they had seen that the humans were not like the others who had abandoned them. The humans had not come to take, they had come to give, to share their knowledge and their resources without expecting anything in return. As they reached the city center, Captain Hayes spotted Dr. Nathaniel Ward, who was talking with a group of Illyrian scientists. He had been instrumental in the success of the mission to stabilize the sun and restore the planet's ecosystem. His work had not only saved Allura, but had helped bridge the gap between two very different cultures. "Dr. Ward," Captain Hayes called, waving as she approached. He turned, offering a tired but contented smile. "Captain, how are the people adjusting?" "Better every day," Captain Hayes replied. "There's a new sense of hope in the air. I've never seen the Illyrians so energized." Dr. Ward nodded. "It's incredible, isn't it? To think that just a few months ago, we were all wondering if this world would even survive. And now, look at it. The ecosystems are recovering, the sun is stable, and the Illyrians are rebuilding their cities. It's more than just scientific success. It's a testament to what we can accomplish when we work together." The group of Illyrian scientists gathered around, nodding in agreement. One of them, Lyra, stepped forward. "Dr. Ward is right. Your people showed us that there is still much to learn, not just from science, but from each other. We have always believed that our survival depended on our own strength, but now we see that the strength of unity can carry us much further." Captain Hayes looked at the gathering of humans and Illyrians, both sides working together, learning from each other. She could see the future unfolding before her. It was a future where the Illyrians would not only survive but thrive. A future where humanity and other civilizations could come together to help one another, to protect and uplift the weaker members of the galaxy. "I believe in that future, Lyra," Captain Hayes said, her voice steady. "And I believe that what we've started here on Allura can be the beginning of something much bigger. A future where no one is left behind, no one is forgotten. We all have something to offer, no matter our size or strength." As the conversation continued, Captain Hayes' thoughts wandered back to the early days of their mission. When they had first arrived on Allura, the Illyrians had been on the brink of extinction, their planet dying, their hope fading. But now, thanks to their partnership with humanity, they were standing on the edge of a new beginning. For the first time in a long while, The Illyrians could see a future where they were not just surviving, but flourishing. They could see a future where their ancient traditions and knowledge would be passed down to future generations. And they knew that they would not be alone in this future. The humans had proven that they would stand by their side, helping them rebuild, grow, and thrive. As the sun set over Valora, casting long shadows over the city, Captain Hayes knew that the Illyrian story was far from over. It was just the beginning. Together, they would write a new chapter, not only for Elora, but for the entire galaxy. A chapter where compassion, unity, and cooperation were the keys to a brighter future. And with that, Captain Hayes felt a sense of peace. She had come to this planet to offer help, but in the end, she realized that it was the Illyrians who had given her something far more valuable: hope. Months had passed since the humans and Illyrians had successfully stabilized Elora's sun. The planet's atmosphere was gradually recovering, and the once dying world was now teeming with life. The crops were growing, the forests were slowly returning, and the rivers, once dried up, now flowed freely again. But while the changes on Elora were miraculous, Captain Sarah Hayes knew that their work was far from over. They had set something in motion, something much bigger than anyone could have anticipated. The Illyrians were not alone. The galaxy was full of civilizations on the brink, civilizations that had been abandoned, ignored, or left to wither away. Elora's restoration was a shining example of what was possible when different races worked together, united by compassion and hope. And as the message spread, other worlds began to take notice. Captain Hayes stood on the balcony of the command center, overlooking the newly rebuilt city of Valora. Her heart swelled with pride as she watched Illyrians and humans working side by side, rebuilding their world. The sky, once shrouded in a constant haze, was now clear and bright. Elora was becoming a symbol, not just of survival, but of the power of unity. Dr. Nathaniel Ward approached, his face reflecting the quiet satisfaction of someone who had seen years of hard work come to fruition. "It's incredible, isn't it?" he said, joining the captain. "To think that just a year ago, we were ready to give up on this planet. Now, it's thriving. And not just Elora. Word is spreading across the galaxy." Captain Hayes nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "It's more than just the planet, Nate. It's the idea. It's showing that there's a better way for all of us, a way where no one is left behind, where every civilization has a chance to survive and thrive." Dr. Ward smiled. "You're right. People are starting to listen. There are other planets, other races, out there who need help. And maybe, just maybe, we can offer it." The idea of helping other civilizations, of extending the same compassion and assistance they had given the Illyrians, had begun to take root. The human team, led by Captain Hayes, had started to make plans to reach out to other struggling worlds, offering the same support they had given Elora. But it was clear that this wouldn't be easy. The galaxy was vast, and there were countless civilizations in need. But the success on Elora had proven that the power of unity could accomplish the impossible. Back in Valora, Kellyan stood with Lyra, looking out over the fields. The sun, once a threat to their existence, now provided the warmth that nourished the crops. The air was fresh, and the land was alive again. Kellyan could hardly believe how far they had come. "I never imagined this," Kellyan said softly. "Our world, reborn. Our people, no longer on the brink of extinction." Lyra smiled, her eyes bright with hope. "It is a dream come true, but it is also a reminder. The galaxy has forgotten so many worlds, so many people. But if we can rebuild, so can others. We are not the last ones to need help. There are many more out there." Kellyan nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I agree. We owe it to those who are still struggling. The humans showed us that no one should be left behind, no matter how small or forgotten they seem." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Hayes, who had come to speak with them about their next steps. "I was hoping to find you both," Captain Hayes said, her tone serious. We've received messages from several other planets, worlds that have heard about what we did here on Elora. They're asking for help. Kalian's eyes widened. Others need help, but we're just beginning to rebuild ourselves. How can we? We can help, Captain Hayes interrupted, her voice filled with determination. It's going to take time, and we can't do it alone. But we can be a starting point. We can offer the same hope we gave to Elora. We can show them that they don't have to face their struggles alone. Lyra stepped forward, her gaze resolute. The humans didn't abandon us. And now we will not abandon others. If the galaxy is going to change, we must be a part of that change. Captain Hayes smiled. I knew you'd say that. We'll need all the help we can get, but together, we can make a difference. The idea of reaching out to other civilizations was a daunting one. There were countless challenges ahead, different languages, different cultures, different technologies. But the Illyrians and humans were no strangers to adversity. Together, they had overcome the impossible once, and they were ready to do it again. As the day went on, plans began to take shape. The human and Illyrian leaders started to strategize how they would send emissaries to other worlds, how they would offer support, and how they could build alliances across the galaxy. The restoration of Elora had been just the beginning. They had shown the galaxy that hope was possible, that compassion could heal even the deepest wounds. And as Captain Hayes stood alongside Kalian, watching the sun set over the recovering planet, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was the mission she had been destined for, not just to save one world, but to show the galaxy that no one was beyond saving. We've only just begun, she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. The galaxy will be different. We'll make sure of it. And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Captain Hayes knew that their efforts, their compassion, had set something powerful into motion, something that could change the course of history. The galaxy was changing, and the small spark that had been ignited on Elora was now a blazing beacon of hope. Captain Sarah Hayes stood at the edge of the newly established Human Illyrian Diplomatic Center, looking out over the vast expanse of the stars. It had been a year since the restoration of Elora, and in that time, the partnership between humans and Illyrians had grown stronger than anyone could have imagined. And now, that same partnership was about to spread beyond their planet. The council meeting had just ended, and the leaders from several different planets had gathered to discuss the next steps. The success of Elora had created a ripple effect across the galaxy. More and more civilizations had reached out, asking for help. The message had been clear: unity, cooperation, and compassion could overcome even the greatest challenges. We've come so far, Captain Hayes said quietly to Dr. Nathaniel Ward, who stood beside her. Elora was the beginning. Now we're being called upon to help others. Dr. Ward nodded, his face full of thought. It's overwhelming, isn't it, to think about all the other worlds that are struggling, the ones we don't even know about yet. But I believe in what we're doing. We've proven that even the most damaged planet, the most broken society, can recover if they have the right help. Captain Hayes looked out at the stars. It's more than just the science. It's the belief that no one should be abandoned, that no one is too far gone to be saved. We've shown that the galaxy can change. It's going to take time, but I believe it's possible. Back in the heart of Elora, Kalian stood with Lyra, looking out over the city that had once been on the brink of ruin. The streets were busy with life, filled with people going about their daily routines. Children played, families gathered in the parks, and the marketplace bustled with activity. The Illyrians, once a people who had lost their way, were now at the forefront of something greater. They had been given a second chance, and now they were giving that chance to others. The galaxy is waking up, Lyra said softly. Elora was saved, and now it's our turn to help others find the same hope we found. Kalian smiled, his eyes full of pride. We've seen what unity can do. The humans showed us that there is strength in working together. It's time we shared that lesson with others. The Illyrians had been working alongside the humans for months now, using their advanced knowledge of planetary restoration to assist other civilizations that had been on the brink of collapse. They were not just offering technology. They were offering hope. They were showing the galaxy that recovery was possible, and that together, anything could be achieved. The first mission had been sent to the planet Silara, a world that had suffered decades of war and environmental destruction. The humans and Illyrians had offered their expertise, helping to repair the planet's dying ecosystem and bring peace to the warring factions. The results were astonishing. Within a few months, the land had begun to heal, and the people of Silara were starting to rebuild their homes and their society. Captain Hayes had been watching the progress from the command center. "This is what we've always wanted," she said. "A galaxy where no one is left behind. A galaxy where every civilization, no matter how broken, can stand tall again." Dr. Ward placed a hand on her shoulder. "And this is just the beginning. We've proven that working together can change the course of history. Now, we need to continue spreading that message." As the days passed, more and more worlds began to reach out. The humans and Illyrians had become the galaxy's beacon of hope, a living proof that even the darkest days could give way to brighter ones. And with each new mission, the dream of a united galaxy became more and more possible. Back on Elora, a celebration was taking place. The Illyrians, with the humans by their side, gathered to honor the work they had accomplished together. The city of Elora was alive with music, laughter, and dancing. The streets were filled with people from every walk of life, each of them celebrating not just the recovery of their planet, but the dawning of a new era. Kalian stood at the center of the celebration, his eyes scanning the crowd. He could see the hope in the faces of his people, the joy of a future that had once seemed impossible. The Illyrians had not only survived, they had thrived, and now they were helping others to do the same. "This is the future we dreamed of," Kalian said to Lyra. "A future where we stand together with others, where we don't just rebuild our own world, but help others rebuild theirs." Lyra smiled. "We've made it happen, and we will continue to make it happen, for as long as it takes." As the night went on, Captain Hayes joined the celebration, her heart full. She watched as the humans and Illyrians danced together, laughing and sharing in the joy of their success. It was a sight she would never forget. This was not just the restoration of a planet. It was the restoration of faith, the restoration of belief in each other. "The galaxy will never be the same," Captain Hayes said softly. "This is just the beginning. The ripple we've started will continue to spread. Together, we'll change everything." And as she looked up at the stars, she knew that they had truly begun something powerful. The future was wide open, full of possibilities. The humans and Illyrians had set a new course for the galaxy, one built on unity, compassion, and hope. And no force in the universe could stop them now.